No one really talks about what it's like to go from bad relationships to healthy love. If you're just here watching YouTube videos or Instagram posts, it can seem like all you have to do is find a good partner, get into a healthy relationship, and everything is cool. I'm even guilty of talking about it like this. But today, I want to get very real with you about what that process actually looks like. What it looks like to go from bad relationships to real love. Because it's not a cakewalk. It is most definitely a transition. For me, there was doubt, questioning my attraction and my feelings for this person, feeling like something was missing in my relationship. I fell into the category of relationship anxiety, so I was always thinking about whether I was in the right relationship or not. And I was triggered a lot in my relationship because of what I had went through in the past. I wanted to run away whenever there was a conflict. I thought about leaving the relationship so many times because I was so triggered. So while all that was going on, at the same time, I was also so happy in my relationship. I felt so secure, I felt so loved, and I really enjoyed being around my partner. So it was like a fight going on within me. A fight between the part of me that wanted to go back to those familiar patterns, those unavailable partners who felt safer at times and actually felt more right at times, versus the part of me that knew I needed to just move through this transition and get to the place where I could let the real love in that I was looking for. I was so used to those old dynamics from my past relationships that it was really hard for me to open up to healthy love. It was uncomfortable at times, and I needed a lot of support to get me through that. So if this is you and you want support to help you move through this transition and break free from the doubts, check out my Living Free Finding Love program. I'm going to leave the link in the description here. I'm going to tell you more about this program as I go through the video here, but I'm just being very real with you. I am still in this transition. I'm still moving through this process of completely opening up to real love. But these days, so much easier. So today, I'm going to share with you what helped me get through this transition. What helped me move from those bad relationships to being open to real love so that you can have peace, attraction, connection in your healthy relationship. The first thing that helped me was understanding the difference between relationship anxiety and a bad relationship. Because so much of the struggle that I was going through was trying to figure out, was I in a bad relationship because I was so triggered? Or was I just experiencing relationship anxiety because I was anxious? In the early stages of my relationship, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out if I was in the right relationship or not. Because my healthy relationship felt so different internally for me that it was really throwing me off. And I'm laughing about it now because it seems so strange to say that. Like, I thought that if I just got into a healthy relationship, everything would be fine, but that's not what actually happened. I was so used to feeling a certain way in my romantic relationships, and this was so different that it really made me question myself, my attraction, if this was the right relationship for me. And I was so afraid of getting into the wrong relationship and making what I considered to be another mistake. So I talked to mentors about this, and I did a lot of research on relationship anxiety. And I realized that there was actually a key way that I could tell the difference between me just being anxious and being in a bad relationship, a toxic relationship. And for me, this key difference was the content of my thoughts. When I was in a toxic relationship, my anxieties or my focus was on the other person. I was always thinking about them. Do they really love me? How do they really feel? What's going to happen next? What are they going to do next? Do they even want to be in this relationship? I didn't feel safe in those relationships, so I was preoccupied with thinking about how my partner felt. Versus when I was experiencing relationship anxiety, my thoughts were focused on me. Do I like this person enough? Am I attracted enough? Am I in the right relationship? Am I making a mistake? Because in this relationship, I did feel safe. I did feel loved. I already knew how my partner felt about me. So the anxiety was focused on how I felt and whether I was making a mistake or not. Which is kind of crazy, right? Because one would think that if I was in a toxic relationship, I would be focused on whether or not I was making a mistake. But I wasn't. I was entirely focused on how does this person feel about me? So learning about relationship anxiety helped me to see that this was actually a really good thing. The fact that my anxious thoughts were focused so much on myself. Now, don't get me wrong, it was not great to be having anxiety, but what it told me was that it was good that the focus was on me because, like I told you, I did feel safe, I did feel loved, and I did know how my partner felt about me. And I knew eventually, because of what I did here, because of how clearly I saw these things, that I wasn't in the wrong relationship. It was just anxiety that was left over from the past, from things that I hadn't fully processed yet or resolved. Little disclaimer here, I know that not everyone will have the same exact experience with the content of your thoughts if you're having relationship anxiety or if you're in a toxic relationship. The content of your thoughts might actually be different. I'm just sharing my experience here, and if you can relate to it, great, take it. If not, let it go. So the next thing that's been working for me to help me open up to real love in this transition from bad relationships to a healthy relationship is subconscious work. This is what I do in my Living Free Finding Love program that I was telling you about before. If you've been following me for a while here, you know that this is my thing. I specialize in helping you release your subconscious blocks so that you can be open to real love. And I am no exception. I had to do this too. I've been doing my own work so that I could move through all of that relationship anxiety that I was experiencing and be open to healthy love. And now I'm thrilled that this is where I've landed in this healthy relationship. Could not be happier. But it took a while to get there. So the way that I do this for my clients, and this is what's worked for me too, two particular modalities, energy healing and guided meditations. So I'll share my experience here and just know that this is what I do for my clients too. I released the emotional energies that were contributing to all of those anxious thoughts. I tapped into my subconscious, or well, technically, somebody else did this for me, but we tapped into my subconscious and we asked the subconscious, literally, what is fueling those anxious thoughts? And for me, it was a lot of fear. It was a lot of grief, actually, and energies of abandonment. So we released those energies. There were a lot of layers of that. And so I went from feeling super anxious all the time to feeling really peaceful and really secure and safe in my current relationship. And now I can actually say that I know that I'm with the right person. Now, you know, if you experience this kind of relationship anxiety, you know that that's the thing that you want so badly, is that knowing, that certainty. The feeling of knowing that you're safe and that you made a good decision for yourself. And I can say that I have that now because I did a lot of that subconscious work, releasing a lot of those energies from my past that were buried away in my subconscious that were fueling all of those obsessive thoughts about the relationship. I feel like I can settle down now into my relationship, and it's an amazing feeling. And this is what I do for my clients too. And let me be clear, I'm using the word settling. In no way do I mean settling for someone. What I mean is choosing a great partner and feeling like you are safe to settle into that relationship. And yeah, like I said, it's such a good feeling. It feels like such a relief. It's really the feeling of peace and happiness. So the other modality that I used myself and that I also use in my Living Free Finding Love program is guided meditations. And I use those guided meditations to rewire the subconscious beliefs that were running in the back of my mind, also fueling those anxious thoughts. For me, those were thoughts like, intimacy isn't safe, or I can't trust anyone, or I'm not good enough. You may relate to these too. So I rewired those subconscious beliefs to a more positive and truthfully a more realistic perspective, that I am safe, that I am loved, that no one's leaving me, I'm okay here. And that has also helped me settle into my current relationship. So if this work calls to you and you want to release your subconscious blocks so you can have that real love that you're looking for and wake up in the morning next to the love of your life, feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling like you have found your person, then click on the link in the description to learn more about how you can work with me. So lastly, what's helped both myself and my partner to settle into this healthy relationship is to do couples work. We worked with a mentor for a good long while to figure out just the little friction points that we had in our relationship. Here's the conflict that we had a lot. So we would have an issue happen. We would have some feelings being triggered. We would have a little conflict. And I would want to talk about it right away, in the moment. I was like, I'm ready, let's do this. Even though I was very emotional, I wanted to talk about it right away. My partner total opposite, needed to have that space, needed to go take his space and regulate himself before he could talk. So when this was first happening and he asked for space, that was so hard for me because I did tend to run a little bit anxious in the relationship, and I was very uncomfortable with that distance. In the beginning, I thought, oh my gosh, he doesn't even like me anymore. He wants to leave the relationship. He doesn't love me. I took it to the extreme, and it was really hard for me. Same thing with him. He tried to move closer towards me in the beginning, and he would get very overwhelmed and not be able to talk. It was very triggering for him to try to talk right away. So we worked with a mentor to help us better learn how to manage these conflicts. And what that meant for both of us was to do the internal work, do the subconscious work, so that we wouldn't feel so intensely triggered when my partner needed space or when I needed to talk about something sooner rather than later. So we did that work, but then we also figured out little ways that we could come closer to each other. So the way that we resolve this and what works for us now is if we have something come up and my partner needs some space, he will say, hey, I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm going to take some space, but let's talk about this in an hour or two. And that works for me. I'm reassured that we are going to talk about this. Okay, it's going to be an hour or two, so I just need to work on calming myself in that hour or two, and I'm good to go. But here's the thing. That might not work for your particular dynamic. Whether you're dating someone or you've been in a relationship for a while, you may need to work with somebody so that you can figure out what works for you and your specific situation. And so if you are having a lot of triggers come up, I do recommend getting some external support. Disclaimer again, I'm assuming that in this video, you are truly in a healthy relationship. So you're not getting triggered by abuse or bad treatment. Don't use any of these strategies if you really do think you're in a toxic relationship. Get some support from somebody. You can reach out to me. I will help you figure out what is truly going on. But if you do know that you're in a healthy relationship and you just need some help working with your partner to figure out how to deal with conflict so that you both feel okay about it, then get support from a mentor. All right, so that's my real and honest take on what it was like for me going from bad relationships to real love. Not so easy, lots of up and downs, but so worth it. Speaking of the difference between relationship anxiety and a toxic relationship, here's a video where I talk about how you can figure out what is going on in your relationship.